Hello, beloved, and welcome back. In today's video, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about ginger and turmeric, two powerful roots that you can use both in natural home remedies and in your cooking. See, I've been doing a little research and I just found out that we can grow both of these roots in our 7A climate zone here. So, in this video, we're going to be actually building a planter for them to grow in using good old cinder blocks, a little bit of hardware cloth, I'll explain later, some cardboard that I've been saving up for a little while, and some homemade compost. I promise this is going to be a really easy build, and right after the intro, we're going to get right to it. All right, we've got some materials here to get started, and I'm just going to go ahead and take the hardware cloth out. And let's just go ahead and talk about this hardware cloth. So, when we moved here, I noticed some interesting developments in the lawn, and I initially thought that we had moles. Those strange looking creatures that look like they don't have eyes, and they eat worms and bugs and grubs. And we had these huge tracks in the lawn, so I thought we had moles. And I learned from some bitter experience that we had not moles but voles. See, voles are very different from moles. They're actually rodents. And see right here, that's what they look like, as opposed to the mole on the left. And see, those voles, they eat plants, roots, and plants. I found this out as a result of planting sweet potatoes in a cardboard box. I just wanted to get them started, and I was very excited, put them in the cardboard box and said, I'll build the planter around the box later. And I came out one day to find that this lovely creature had eaten the potato right from the bottom of the planter, just dug a hole right up through the bottom and ate the potato and left me the leaves. So I had to start my sweet potatoes all over again. Luckily, they're easy enough to start, but we're not doing that with everything I plant. So that's why we need to make a planter. And we're going to make a planter with hardware cloth at the bottom, because hardware cloth, this hardware cloth that I'm using is 1/4 inch grid hardware cloth. See, voles aren't small enough to get through that, and their little teeth can't chew through the hardware cloth. So I'm just protecting my crops. And after I get done struggling with this galvanized wire that is wrapped all around it, we'll actually get started on the building of the planter. Trust me, this is the hardest part. Everything else after this is going to be much easier. While I'm rolling that, I may as well forewarn you that this is a building project that has my signature on it, which means you're probably going to see me thinking and rethinking certain things, more specifically, the size of the planter. So don't be alarmed. If you see me standing, counting, and looking pensive, it's because I'm about to change my mind. I'll give you some cues while I'm doing that, and I'm going to spend a little less time talking in this video and a lot more time actually just building. So hold on tight. We're about to get started. Step number 1 is going to be to position the hardware cloth where I want the planter to actually sit. Easier said than done, but not altogether impossible. And I'm going to need some of the cinder blocks to help me with this process. There we go. just because that roll in the wire is just so tight. And then we're off to the races. Well, after I make a few adjustments, that is. What you're seeing here is I'm just rolling the whole sheet of hardware cloth out because I'm trying to make a decision about exactly how big I want to make this planter. The roll is 10 feet long, so I could, in theory, make the planter extend the entire 10 feet, or I could stop a little shorter. Oh well. Let's get some more cinder blocks. Now we're going to start making real progress. I'm just going to finish centering these 2 blocks, and from here the planter will just naturally begin to progress. We're just going to count to make sure they're centered. And a little adjustment here. Really shouldn't be obsessing over this. But I think we're good. All right. Let's get busy. We're going to speed this up and really just get this planter done. Remember when I told you about me thinking and rethinking? This is one of those times here. I've just emptied the wheelbarrow of cinder blocks, so that's given me the opportunity to think. But it's time to refill. And we refilled quite a few times because I can only fit 5 blocks at a time on the wheelbarrow. Not just because of space, but because of the weight. These blocks are heavy, y'all. Thinking. Time for a refill. All right, decision time. We're gonna grow big. We're going for it. The full 10 feet is going to be taken up by this planter. This thing is going to be massive. I'm just gonna make sure I have enough blocks. In total, it took me 33 blocks to make this planter. So you're gonna see me come back with that wheelbarrow quite a few more times. And as another note, part of the reason why we're going to make this planter so large is because this is not just for us, folks. These plants that we plan to grow here, the ginger, the turmeric, and anything else that I can fit in here, it's not just for us. We intend to share with our neighbors, with our friends who may need access to ginger or turmeric for a variety of reasons. I think that the Lord would be well pleased for us to build not just for ourselves, but so that we can be able to share with others. And it just makes me think of the verse in Isaiah chapter 53 that talks about Christ. When he came, he grew as a tender plant, as a root out of a dry ground. And so when I'm building planters like this and working on this project, I'm thinking about not just how it's going to benefit me, but how this can be an extension of the work of Christ in the lives of others. So as you are preparing for your country property and what you plan to grow, plant, and do, let's make room for the Lord to use us mightily to not only introduce and discuss and recommend natural remedies to the folks that we meet, but to be able to go into your garden, into your planter, into your yard, and provide them the resources that you're talking about. It's a practical way to demonstrate to people that the Lord had them on his mind long before you came into the picture. He was making provision for them, and he has a plan for them. And just as Isaiah says that Christ had no comeliness, that we should desire him, the roots or rhizomes of ginger and turmeric don't evoke admiration at first glance, but taken into your life, they have a powerful effect. And so I just thought I'd share those little tidbits since we had time to chit-chat. At this stage, we have officially finished the main outline of the planter. Let's move the camera so you can see that better. There we go. And now, at this point, we're going to start adding the center division for the planter. We're going to build up the side where the turmeric is going to grow because turmeric has deeper roots than ginger does. And I'm also going to start adding in the cardboard at the base of the planter. These pieces are going to go in right now because they're sopping wet, and if I don't do something with them right now, they're probably just going to disintegrate and be destroyed. So we're going to put those in the planter right now, and I'll come back later with the rest of the cardboard. All right, we're having another one of those moments where I'm just puzzling over exactly the division that I want for this planter. And so I'll just keep moving things around until I like them. That's one thing I love about this, because we're not using any mortar. It's very easy to shift and reconfigure if, as I'm going along, I don't like how things are going. Alright, so once again I've exhausted my cinder blocks for this particular wheelbarrow, and now we're adding the cardboard back in. So the purpose of the cardboard is to provide a weed block. I'm sure you noticed that I'm building this planter just right on top of the lawn. So the last thing that I want is grass and weeds growing up through the bottom of my planter. After I did all this work to create a space for ginger and turmeric, I kind of want to have control over what's growing here. So the cardboard not only blocks out the weeds, but it also encourages intense earthworm activity. As a gardener, I cannot tell you how valuable earthworms are. To me, they are the best free labor you're going to get. They fertilize the soil, they aerate the soil, and they're just a great sign of healthy growing environments. So the more cardboard we pile on, the better it is. Now, the cardboard will not last forever. It is going to biodegrade, which is another reason why I use it. And I'll just stagger them on here until I've got a layer of about 2 or 3 layers of cardboard, and off to get some more boxes. I will finish the other side afterwards, don't you worry. But since we've got the cardboard on that first area where the ginger is going to be, let's go get some compost. As you may have seen in our other video on composting, we've got a 3-bay system here, and that last bay is where I'm going to get the good stuff. This has been sitting around for several months now, and I just have it covered over with a little bit of burlap to keep things from falling in it that I don't want. And oh, that's great stuff. It's going in. It's going in. You may be wondering why I'm not using the shovel to dig this stuff out. My compost tends to be a little bit lumpy, and so, believe it or not, using the pitchfork is so much easier than using the shovel. I can pick up much larger sections, and then I can work through the clumps as you see me shaking it going into the wheelbarrow here. Now that we're back at the planter, there's a couple ways I could approach putting this compost in here. I'm going to start off by shoveling it in, just to give me more control over where it falls and to make sure that it doesn't make all of the cardboard shift out of place. I just want that layering effect to stay in place, and then once that's set, I can just start dumping it in. I probably should have aimed that a little bit better, but I'm totally okay with a little bit of the compost going into those extra sections because, like I mentioned earlier, I can grow in those sections, and I think I'm actually going to grow in those sections, just haven't decided what I'm planting there. I'll redirect a little bit. It's no biggie. I'm just going to spread this around a little bit, and I wanted to just share that I've done this before, and you can actually plant right in the planter as it is on this closer side where I'm adjusting the compost. You could just plant in this, and I'm actually going to stomp it down a little You can see it's very spongy and it bounces back even though I am really, really pressing it down. It'll fluff back up. I'm not worried about that. I just want to make sure that I'm getting as much material in here as possible because I expect the compost to break down and sink down a little bit. So I'm making room for a little bit of extra on the top. That's totally optional. Now that this side is finished, it's time to start on the other side. We're going to add the rest of the cardboard layers, and then we're going to fill that side 1 block high with compost. That will establish the bed, and it will start the process of attracting worms to the area, as well as keeping the cardboard in place. It's just so much easier to load the compost when there's only 1 block for me to lift things over. So I'm going to take advantage of that right now. And I love using cardboard as a weed block because you can just tear it to the size you want. See, I told you this was going to be easy. With this wheelbarrow, we should be full. So I'm going to spread that around. And while I'm doing that, I just want to encourage you, if at all possible, if you would like to grow in planters like this and grow on a large scale, please, please, please make some compost from the material that you have on your property. It's going to save you so much money. I know that you can buy soil by the truckload, by the cubic foot, by the cubic yard, but it is so much more cost effective to just go ahead and make it yourself. And the quality of the compost that you're going to get is so much better than anything that you can get delivered to you, whether on a truck or in bags from the store. Most of the time, the material that comes to you from those sources is not going to be of the same quality as if you just go ahead and do it at home. Oh, let me show you this guy. I usually find a ton of these, and I found some earlier, but they slithered back inside, so I couldn't show them to you. Good old earthworms hard at work in that compost. I'm excited. We're going to put him back and cover him over so he doesn't dry up or get eaten by the birds, because I know they're watching. And from this point, we can start finishing that last row. We'll be good to go. I'm going to go put the shovel and pitchfork away because I won't be needing them any further at this point. And I left this particular section in just so you can see where I'm coming from with those blocks. Thus far, I've edited out all of the time that it takes me to come back and forth with the blocks, but these are the last 5 blocks on the pallet over here, and I'm just going to load them and bring them over. In the home stretch here, you'll notice that I am using a brick lay pattern on this second row. It helps to reinforce the strength of the blocks and makes the planter more stable in general. So I just moved that block so you can't see it anymore, but I'll put another one back there, don't worry. I'm doing one of my adjustment things again. It's purely for aesthetic purposes. I would like to have the same style block on the outside edges of the planter. So, right, I know I just put that block there and I'm going to move it. You really don't have to be this picky about it. But like I was saying, with the brick lay pattern, the seams between the blocks will not meet up with the seams on the bottom row. And this way, the way that the weight falls from the blocks will help to hold them in a stable position. And I can actually walk on top of this planter as long as I don't do any crazy shifting and twisting. All right, I've got a few more shenanigans going on here. I originally purchased 36 blocks for this project, and before I built this planter, I was messing around with building a rocket stove, and so you see me hesitating to take the blocks from the rocket stove, but I need them to finish this planter, so shenanigans over. We're gonna finish this up. And we are officially done. I'm so excited to be able to grow our own ginger and turmeric in this planter this year, and we're going to plant a few other things as well. I made one adjustment to the east side of the planter where the ginger is going to be growing, because those corners I had on there were going to be a nightmare to maintain. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until the next time, keep it simple and be blessed.